It is the Riot. I just went back and listened to the podcast, like kind of getting it ready for Sydney to assemble it. And guys, I'm tired of the sound of my own voice.
It's been a long week of our voices, so you're just ready for a break?
I guess so. I was just listening. I'm talking very fast. I have had a lot of caffeine today. I'm really tired. And just listening to it, I thought, oh, would somebody shut that guy up? Really? Just tell him to stop talking.
Well, the good news is, I guess some of you might miss it, but next week, Monday through Thursday, there will be no podcast. We will have a special Friday edition next week, but that'll be it. And then back to normal after that. So you enjoy the podcast today. Make it count. Because that's all you get for a few days.
Well, the good news is if you come out of this podcast feeling the same way I did, you've got a few days before you have to hear me again.
A little bit of a break. It's fine.
Today in the podcast, we talk, first off, most important, we talk to My Epic. Nate from My Epic stops by. If you'd actually like to see that interview, you can see it with your eyes. That's on our Facebook page. It's on our YouTube channel. You can also find a link to it at riot.radiou.com. It
was really nice to catch up with him. He's a super great guy, and they really are a super great band if you're not familiar with them.
Other things we talk about, what happens when you're a vegan but somebody feeds you meat, the National Gun Show, Name That Tune, Florida as the last land of, something, a Christmas house, the CDC, Raccoons. Well, there's things.
I don't know if going back to a Christmas house, it's not a Christmas house. It's a house that's for sale. And then once you see the pictures of the inside, then it becomes something beyond just a Christmas house. It's just stuff. It's just a lot of stuff. So when you hear it, we describe it so that you can actually search it and look at the pictures yourself. I would suggest you do that.
Okay. All right. You know what? Well, I would suggest doing that before you spend the $2.2 million
buying it.
Yeah, I think that would be for the best. Right? Well, hey, you guys enjoy the podcast. Thanks for spending time with us. We hope you have a great day.
And have a wonderful Thanksgiving, since we won't talk to you before then.
Oh, my gosh, Nikki, you know what? We haven't mentioned the Christmas channel, did we?
Oh, you're right. The Christmas channel has launched. So if you're like, what will I do without Obie and Nikki next week for my podcast? You can check out RadioU.com and our RadioU app and our RadioU Roku channel. Any of those places, go check it out and get our RadioU Christmas channel, which is our RadioU Christmas music hosted by Obie and myself.
All right. Enjoy the podcast. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
The Riot isn't all bad, but this is the worst of the Riot. Radio U.
Maybe babysitting isn't all that it's caught up to be. Head down to Hobbiton in New Zealand, and here's what you'll find. There's a woman, 19 years old. She's been babysitting for 2 years, and she just got asked by a new family to babysit. So she did. 7-year-old girl, 9-year-old boy. The kids were super good, and she said, you know what? I want to reward you guys for being so good. Like, what do you want to eat? Let's go out to eat. And so they said, we want chicken McNugget Happy Meals.
That doesn't seem like an odd suggestion. That seems like a normal choice a kid would make.
Right now, everything seems on point, right? So she goes out. They go out and get the chicken McNugget Happy Meals. They come home. They're eating. Mom shows up early, walks in the door, sees the kids eating chicken McNuggets and begins screaming, rips them in one case out of the hands and made them spit out the food. And she said, the babysitter said she was screaming at her and at the kids for eating the dead flesh of corpses.
Oh, that's awful. And she was saying how the mom or the kids never once said that they were vegetarians. So that never came up, which, I mean, if you're babysitting, Obie, you didn't when you were younger, but when I did, you always checked in the beginning before you started the babysitting some notes that you needed to pay attention to, allergies, any personal preferences and stuff, and that would have been included.
Should have been included, right? So the babysitter gets kicked out. The mom refuses to pay her. And then she gets a text message where the mom wants her to pay emotional damages.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow. $430 for each of the kids because of what she emotionally caused them by having the chicken Happy Meal, the nuggets. Doesn't it feel like a scam at that point? Like, were they even vegetarians?
I think you're saying that the mom came home, didn't have any money, and saw the opportunity?
No, like this is the scam they do with everybody. So the babysitter...
They just keep getting new babysitters?
Yeah, that could be it. The babysitter refused to pay the money, said that the mom should have said they were vegetarian, and she would have respected the choice then. And, they went to court over it.
Well, they haven't yet, but she says they're going to. And they're crazy. It's just crazy. Like, I cannot believe that.
I mean, I think she did handle that fine. No one said not to, but it seems like the mom has some problems there.
Well, I mean, I guess the bottom line is I wouldn't be designed to, like, I would have probably handled the kids okay, especially their chicken McNugget request. I'd be like, yeah,
listen,
we're getting chicken McNuggets every day.
As a former vegetarian and a former vegan, you always tell everybody everything about it. So I would have thought that the mom would have told the babysitter all about their dietary and their choices that they've made. So, yeah, it's very shocking that she wouldn't have said something. So it's not the babysitter's fault. But she went to social media and she was just asking around. And that's why it went out for news to see, like, would you have paid the $430 for each kid for emotional support for what the mom said you did or not pay? And most people said they would not pay.
You know what? They need help these people out. Come on. Like,
a lot of people said that they assume the mom has pulled this stunt before to get out of paying for the babysitting and then maybe trying to get some extra cash through that extra step. So she definitely had probably pulled that so that she wouldn't have to pay when the babysitter was leaving.
Hey, like, that's a great way to get free babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
You just put it back on them.
What you're about to hear will live on the internet forever. Sorry, internet. The worst of the Riot podcast.
Virginia, we were just talking about them. They just canceled the National Gun Show or Nation Gun Show. It's one of the biggest ones in the United States, right? As a COVID thing. And they're like, yeah, here in Virginia, we've got 2,500 cases a day. It's bad. And as they say online, Florida's like, yeah, hold my beer. So
they have more than that? Is that it?
Yeah, Florida's seeing about 9,000 new COVID-19 cases a day. And they're open for business, man. Sure. They're just like, we're not doing anything. Okay, now why does this tie in? There's a big write-up in the Wall Street Journal about it. People are trying to start to lean on Florida, telling them to shut down. But for me, I want you to know that I looked at flying to Florida next week.
Oh, you did? Well, I know you've been... Well, okay, let's track with Obi. You know, he's over COVID. So you can travel at that point, but your vacation last week had to be canceled because you weren't okay yet. So your January vacation, you had a cruise, that's also been canceled. So I know you just wanted to go somewhere. So you were going to go to Florida?
I thought about it because it's one of those things where, again, when people hear me say it, they're just like, you're a monster. But I mean,
but you had COVID, so it's not like you're within the antibodies window.
Yeah, I actually posted just to see what people would say. And a lot of people were like, hey, there's no guarantee you won't get it again. But most scientists are saying, like, hey, you've probably got at a minimum about 90 days of immunity. And I'm thinking, man, I might as well spend it while I got it.
But you would still wear a mask and still be...
I would.
Still follow the guidelines that we follow in our state, even though it's not the same in Florida.
I would follow those guidelines just out of some sort of a public courtesy. But, I mean, quite frankly, I'm in a position where I've got the antibodies. I've got the stuff that you're hoping you get from the vaccine. Like I have suffered and paid the price to get these antibodies, and now I'm rich, and I kind of want to go off and spend them a little bit.
That or sell your plasma, one or the other.
Oh, I've thought about that too.
I know. I've
thought about it too.
They pay for, if you've had COVID, they pay more for plasma, so it's an attractive offer.
How many plasma donations do I have to make in order for me to be...
And you're helping, I'm sure, somehow, so...
Yeah. But I was just thinking, like, I still want that graphics card. I figure if I just pocket that plasma money every week, within a month or so, I should be good, right? Sure. It's fine. You don't sound It sounds good. So I'll see you guys in Florida this weekend.
Well, so anything else around Florida, or are they just saying in this write-up that they were hoping that Florida would start going back to some things?
It was just more the idea. I was kind of looking at numbers, and then, as I said, there's an article running in the Wall Street Journal today, and you guys all get the Journal, right? And they're talking about how Florida is like one of the holdout states. They're just like, nah.
And I know we have a lot of wonderful Florida listeners, and what's awesome is you guys are always like, oh, yeah. You guys, anything with Florida, you're like, yep, that's Florida.
You're basically listening to a real-time cringe compilation. This is The Riot on RadioU.
When I was little, my grandma was my babysitter, which, what a great situation, right? You just get to hang out with your grandma.
Is that what you said? You used to have mac and cheese and watch Price is Right? Aw,
that's right.
That's cute.
But then after Price is Right, at some point in the afternoon, Grandma would settle into her stories.
Soap operas.
Soap operas. And this may shock you, but I was a very attentive and I was sponge-like when it came to soap operas. And due to the fact that I began to reiterate some of the things I was learning while the soap operas were on and I was playing, that led to no more soap operas. And so in the afternoon, my grandma started kind of doing things, and she would turn on the Game Show Network. And so we would watch the Game Show Network while I was playing or whatever. Now, I say all of this to give you some context. I remember watching a show with my grandma called Name That Tune. She was able to guess the songs. I was clueless as to what song was what. I mean, I was very young, but still. I mean, it was like big band and whatever. So what the idea was is that you have a contestant on there, and I don't know like all the game stuff, but they would basically say like, I can name that tune in 5 notes. And so there was a band on site that would play the first 5 notes of a song, and then they would have to guess it. And so there was competition, like, et cetera, et cetera. They're bringing it back, Nikki.
Oh, so who's bringing it back?
That Tune is going to be on Fox. It's an hour. The show takes an hour.
Well, I mean, this sort of competition, game, music show stuff still does really well for network, for broadcast television. So I'm not surprised they're trying to squeeze out the whole hour out of it.
That to me, that is crazy. An hour, half hour tops. So come on, it's a game show.
They're saying it tests contestants' music knowledge and their ability to battle it out with challenging music games for cash and prizes.
Well, it's going to be hosted by Jane Krakowski, who I know from 30 Rock, and you may know Randy Jackson. He's going to be the band leader, and he was the guy that was on American Idol forever.
Let's see. Ashley just texted it. Isn't that like Beat Shazam? So, yeah, kind of similar to see if you know the song.
Yeah, but this time hosted by celebrities you kind of might not know who they are.
In an hour long full of advertisements, commercials, in-game show advertising. Like, it's just going to be wonderful. All with music.
Apparently, Jane Krakowski was well known for her breakout role on Ally McBeal. Thank you, Variety.
What was the show you said,
for the details. For me, I just know her from 30 Rock.
30 Rock, that's it.
Yeah, so there it is. Name That Tune. It's going to be happening this January 6th, 9 o'clock on Fox.
Feels like they assume there'll be nothing else come January with the dark winter months. So they might think that you'll tune into a song competition show.
Hey, Nikki.
Yeah?
There'll be nothing.
What's worse than the worst of the Riot? The Worst of the Riot podcast. Yeah. You did this to yourself. Podcast. Riot. RadioU.
I don't like to inconvenience friends. You know, you let them borrow money. It's like, don't say anything. But, Nikki, I'm going to need that $2.5 million back.
You said I had plenty of time.
I know. But that's before I saw this listing on Zillow.
His house was really everywhere yesterday. It's you have to look at the photos because when I looked at him, I love Christmas stuff, but man, it was almost claustrophobic to see so much stuff. Or is that no? Like it was just too much. It was overwhelming. There was so much anxiety with it.
So, Nikki, tell me this before we get to the interior, which is Christmas every day, all the time. What do you think about the exterior? Do you consider this to be beautiful, or is it a McMansion?
Well, it's this home in New Jersey that's being sold for $2.2 million. It's not being like they want it to sell for that, so it's not sold yet. But it has a really nice back outside area with a pool.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I liked that. The front and stuff. That's not my style. It seems a bit dated with some of it. And then wait until you get inside because it is something.
As Nikki said, there is a feeling of claustrophobia. They have decorated it so densely with Christmas stuff that it's almost terrifying.
And you don't get it until you actually look at the photos. When you walk into this entryway, they have these giant nutcrackers, and you're like, what's wrong with that? It's maybe 3 or 4 feet deep of stuff coming out of the wall to wall Christmas decorations. And so that's why this house, these real estate photos for it are making their way across the web, because it's so weird to see so much Christmas stuff.
Well, I told Nikki I needed my $2.5 million back. The listing's 2.2. Of course, I would talk them down from that, but the other $300,000 is for the inside to be completely repainted.
Did you see, it's not just Christmas decorations. You go down to the basement, there's this workout area. There's photos everywhere. If you go, each room has, I don't know if that's an older style of decorating, but it's clean and it's organized. But it feels like a clean and organized hoarder's house, and they just have so much collectible stuff, but it is clean. It's just weird.
Man, I'll tell you this right now. I don't know what the weather's like in New Jersey today, but wouldn't you just love to go sit in that pool or sit by the fireplace that's next to that pool? Mm-hmm. Just spend the day relaxing. That I want to do that. Can I?
See, again, the outside pool area is really nice. Everything else is really outdated.
Terrifying, really.
Do you see the tile in the bathrooms, the walls?
How about the pink sinks?
It's very weird. The tile on the wall, it feels very, is that 70s? Is that 80s? I don't know, but it matches the counters, the sinks, and the toilets. It's a bold look. You'd have to redo the whole thing.
It just feels like the people that built this house, and I don't know where they are, though I feel like they're not with us anymore.
No.
They made a house exactly like they wanted it.
Yeah.
And they didn't care. And during your lifetime, that's admirable. When you're gone, people are like, look at the crap we got to clean up now.
Well, when you sell your house, you're supposed to remove all the personal side of it. And when you look at these photos, it's nothing but personal. So if you want to see them, just Google. It's on Zillow. New Jersey home, Christmas, $2.2 million. Put any of that in, and you'll see the pictures. And you'll see, it just grabs you when you walk in. That must be a very difficult place to visit.
You know what, though? I got to tell you, if you gave me that house, I would live there. I could adjust, and I could really, really spend a lot of time outside next to that fireplace.
So would you take the mansion if you could not remove anything from it?
How much? Okay, yes, sure.
Sure, you would.
It's nice. It's just I don't know if I have enough money to have people come in and clean it. After a while, it would look really crappy as I owned it. But, man, I'll tell you what.
Can't be any worse.
I honestly don't think I have enough money to run the water and electric bills in that place.
The Riot with Obadiah and Nikki on RadioU.
One of the things that I'm definitely doing next week, aside from taking the week off, yes, the Riot is taking a few days off, though we will be back on
next Friday.
Wait. Yeah. Sorry, I had something go off and I was afraid it was coming through. I was like, wait, what is that? But we're going to be back next Friday for our Black Friday show. But you know what I'm doing on Thanksgiving Day? I mean, maybe I'll see family. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll see friends. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll eat. Maybe I won't.
Who knows? Keep it a surprise. Just, let's see how it works out next week and what happens.
But, Nikki, there's one thing that I know is going to happen next Thursday. Mm-hmm. I am going to be watching some of the MST3K Turkey Day Marathon. Woo!
And you're like, wait, what does the letters stand for? It's Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's a older show.
older that's new again?
Well, it's old movies that they do commentary on. And so it was on Netflix, and they do a podcast. And it's Obi's thing that he absolutely adores and loves.
I do. And so it is going to be starting next Thursday. It's on all kinds of stuff. Like it's on Twitch. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. You can watch it just about anywhere. Look at this. Okay. Pluto, Twitch, Samsung TV Plus, Comcast Xfinity, Local Now, MST3.com, YouTube channel, Vizio, Redbox. The list goes on. But it'll be them making fun of old movies, and it has all new segments that come in between the commercials, like host segments. And apparently it's a long-running Mystery Science Theater 3000 tradition to have a Turkey Day marathon. Now, I have done this for the last, I don't know how many years. Like, I'll at least poke my head in and watch bits and pieces of it. Totally doing it next week.
Now that we have more time at home without the problems of family over, you'll have way more time to watch it.
I'm going to hang out with my virtual family.
I know. It'll be great. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You'll love that.
I actually will enjoy it. I'll especially enjoy whatever I eat. I don't know what, where, when, or how, but after I eat it, I like the idea of laying down on my couch, turning this on and laughing for a little while, and then just snoring through most of it.
Waking up, enjoying a tiny bit more, going back to bed.
Yes.
It's a perfect day.
That's how my friend Craig enjoys NASCAR. He told me, he's like, oh, yeah, the reason you don't like NASCAR is because you're watching it. He's like, the whole point of watching it is you turn it on and then just go to sleep.
So wait, do you fall asleep to like the noise of it? Is that helpful?
Exactly.
That makes you feel good?
Like, the rumble of the cars, he's like, you fall right to sleep. He's like, then you just wake up for the last 2 laps. You're done.
Is he a baby, or he just likes to fall? I mean, it's kind of like how we like to fall asleep to a ceiling fan. You know, it's probably no different.
Well, I mean, Craig's 22, not exactly a baby, but I mean, the ceiling fan thing is probably accurate. You know, it goes in circles. It makes a little humming noise.
It's just like NASCAR racing. That's
pretty much Craig's. What do babies have? That thing? A mobile or whatever, the thing that twists above their head?
That's it. I mean, it's
one of them.
The ceiling fan to us and to car racing for him.
Oh, I don't like how we just broke all that down.
This is the Worst of the Riot podcast.
How much do you like eating out, Nikki?
Not as much. Like I said, I'm good for like a pickup, a drive-through, or a DoorDash or something. Bringing it to me, I don't mind that. But I'm not always up for the long experience of inside an actual restaurant.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, some people disagree with you. Some people would really like to get out to a restaurant.
I know, and it's good to support inside, but it depends on the restaurant, and it depends on the food you're feeling like.
Well, right now at City Winery in the Meatpacking District, this is in New York, they are going to allow in-person dining. Here's the catch. What you're going to need to do is I'm going to need you to go ahead and make your reservation.
Yeah.
And in order to make your reservation, I need you to pay... Go ahead. What were you?
Don't tell me I have to take a COVID test. Is that like I have to do one to get inside? Is that it?
Now, do you want me to tell you or not?
Okay. Well, let me hear.
Okay. You do have to take a COVID test. You're going to pay $50 with your reservations, and that $50 will get you your COVID test. So when you get there, you take a COVID test. You wait a little bit. They come back and tell you if you have it, and if you don't, you can come in and eat. And if you do, you're unclean forever.
So wait, is this maybe a restaurant like is it super bougie or like really well known, or why would they think I would want to take a COVID test just to go in and eat?
Well, I'll tell you, when I look at it, I believe bougie is a safe word to use for that.
Well,
sure,
it must be something. Man, if the test itself is the $50, how much is it just to actually eat in there? No, thank you.
How much does it cost to eat?
It can't be that. It can't be that nice in there. They have a merch wall. There's no way that place is as nice as I think it is.
Well, actually, see, to me, that feels like the right spot for this. If the place is expensive enough, they would never dare ask you to take a COVID test before you came in. But this is just enough. Like, it's just expensive enough. It's just New York enough. It's just touristy enough.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you'd have to even do the nasal swab one. That's the worst one. And then you arrive there by a health professional will give you the COVID test. You can have a drink while you wait. It'll take you 10 to 15 minutes for your result. The only way I could see this is you needed to get a COVID test for something else. And you rolled it into dinner. That actually might not be a bad thing instead of going to like another COVID testing center.
Okay, all right. Like, I mean, I can definitely see where you're coming from on that one. You know, you're thinking to yourself, well,
you have to get one done anyways. You might as well enjoy dinner, or if you pass it. If you don't pass, then you can't. So if a positive test happens, it'll be sent to so I don't know if it gets like verified. It has to still go to a lab to be verified if you have a positive test, but you're not allowed in, so you will be turned away. But I don't know if that would be enough to like go into, well, you'd have to quarantine technically, but like, would that be enough to, here's my employer's letter, or here's, you know, if it was a positive test, you still need to get it verified by a lab.
I don't know the answer to that. I know that the more we talk about it, the less likely I am to want to go to this restaurant.
Well, the founder and the CEO of the place said tests are necessary to get customers indoors and tide the business over until spring. No, thank you.
I mean,
I would not do it.
I get it.
I know, but I wouldn't take a COVID test, a nasal one with just to go in and eat at the place. I wouldn't do that.
Nikki, don't be such a baby. It's fine. It just hurts a lot and feels really awkward. And afterwards, your eyes water for a long time. But like, other than that, it's fine.
It's not worth it. That must be one impressive place to eat at if they think people are going to, and even pay the $50 and then have to go pay for the food.
Well, I mean, you know, they can't make the food free.
I feel like it's a different world because for us, we try to keep the bill under 50. Don't even want to pay that much
Way
for dinner.
Under 50.
I know.
Come on.
We don't even want to pay that much for dinner. No thanks.
Giving every novelty food the publicity it so blatantly desires. It's The Riot on Radio U.
I make no apologies for the fact that I have been a My Epic fan. Am I a super fan? Probably not, because I'm saying that and you're like, dude, you should see the My Epic tattoo I have on my back. I don't have one.
You're not that type, but man, you always, and you're smart to do this, you always go back for their long career for My Epic and bring back the projects and the albums and stuff and give those another listen. And you just, it's always such good stuff to bring back. Even if it's older, you just keep listening to it again.
Yeah, I mean, especially the Ultraviolet album, like, man, I really, really connected with that album. And this morning, we're getting an opportunity to connect with My Epic.
Good morning, Nate. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you guys?
We're doing very good, thank you.
Nate,
Nice.
your glasses are fantastic.
Thank you.
Do we want to describe them, Obi, for those? If you want to hop onto Facebook, if you go to Radio U Riot, you can actually watch our interview, or if you go to Radio U on Facebook, but they are amazing, and you can see Nate while he's there.
If they have 6 sides, is that a hexagon? Am I getting that?
Okay, so there's a little bit to unpack. Is it 6 sides? Is it a septagonal shape? I can't decide because there's like sort of a short side on either side of my face.
Oh, sure.
It's not like octagonal, but we could maybe do the whole interview about that, I guess, if we needed to.
Would it be maybe like honeycomb sort of look to it? But yeah, I mean, it kind of works. The glasses are good. Obi's been wanting to change his out or go back to contacts.
Yeah.
Dude, change them up, man. I'm telling you what. I have at this point, I think I have close to 10 pairs that I rotate out.
Okay.
So it's just been,
Wow.
I buy them online for like really cheap. I have a really terrible prescription, but I found a great website that I buy them from. And I think this pair was like $25. So
Dude,
not a
we're
lot of money.
glasses buddies. What's your website? Because I got one too.
I use Zenni Optical.
Yes. We're Zenni brothers. We're Zenni brothers. I love it.
For lots of inexpensive eyeglasses. But you never change yours out, Obi. You just have the same ones. You got to get more.
Well, I am now. I'm getting octagon glasses. It's happening.
Yeah, man. Seriously, I'm so happy with these. I feel like for stuff like this, I can just show up and now I appear fashionable. I've done nothing to impress you other than wear septagonal glasses.
And he noticed, so it worked. It was exactly worth it.
Totally worked, dude.
This is Nate with My Epic. Just to let you guys know as a heads up, if you're a fan of My Epic, their new music video for a redo of their song Lower Still is on RadioU TV. So it's definitely worth a watch because you can catch like the 10 years of My Epic. You can take a look back and see clips throughout the band's history.
So what inspired I assume it's probably the COVID thing, but has that been what got you to go like, we need a music video, so why don't we just throw together this footage?
Well, so the story for that video and that collaboration is actually kind of interesting because this year was supposed to be sort of a celebration the entire year of the 10-year anniversary of that record yet. And we had a bunch of things like in the works. We had a huge tour. Well, we actually had 2 legs of tours that were going to go and cover like the whole country. That was going to take place like the first tour is going to be in May, like all of May, and then the next tour was going to be all of November, basically. And obviously that all got canceled, in March and April. We were like, okay, this is not happening. And then we also had a vinyl re-release planned, and then the label sort of said like, we just don't think this is the right time to do it. And so, one of the other things was that we were like, with the vinyl coming out, we should like kind of remix a song and do a video and celebrate sort of the history of the band. And so this is like the one remaining thing that did happen.
Out of all the plans that you guys had. Well, at least this was still able to happen.
Right. So it's like, it's kind of strange, like in a vacuum to put out a song, like a mixed and sort of reimagined idea, like from that record in isolation. But I do think it's like still fitting to sort of celebrate that record and how much it meant to fans. And it really like launched the career of the band. And, even though I wasn't really, I've only been in the band now for about 5 years. So that's 5 years then past my time, but it's still been like a huge part of me being in the band. And it's just like, that was a jumping on point. Like actually when I met those guys like 10 years ago, that's like the era that I know them from. So it's just a meaningful time and a good like opportunity for us to celebrate.
Well, for the music video, like I mentioned, you can check it out at RadioU TV for the 10th anniversary. And Nate, for My Epic, you guys can just maybe celebrate the 11th year anniversary and do hopefully the tour stuff next year.
Yeah, we're hoping. I mean, whenever it makes sense, really. Like the touring thing is complicated because we know that we're not like the biggest band in the world, and that once the wheels start turning on touring, it's going to be all the big bands that get all the priority. So it's like, we're sort of we have a mindset of like just trying to figure out what the replacement is until that makes sense.
What are you guys doing in the meantime? You're at home. If you guys are not watching online right now, you should, because we gotten a little bit of a peek at Nate's home studio. He's got a Watchman annotated edition in the background. He's got 3 or 4 keyboards. There's guitars. I mean, this is a true artist here.
He's got a good setup.
What are you doing? He does. So what are you doing in the meantime? Obviously, you guys have put this video out, but you said your 2020 basically got canceled. What does a band like My Epic do in the meantime?
Well, I would say we're in an interesting position because we are a band that has been around for a long time, but we are in some ways like more active and trying to be more active than ever, possibly. It's hard to say, like, obviously when you're in your mid 20s, you're like really going for it. Now we're a decade past that, but I guess on a personal level, yes. Like, I mean, this is my home studio. I co-own a studio here in Atlanta called Glow in the Dark, which, if anybody knows studios, like Glow in the Dark is like a pretty historic, cool spot, like Under Oath recorded there, Copeland, and like all these great, The Chariot, and like all these great classic Tooth and Nail, Solid State bands and stuff. Did records there with my coworker and co-owner Matt Goldman. So I do that in my free time. That's like we just reopened the studio this year, and that's been a huge project. But on the My Epic front, we started a Patreon, which is patreon.com/the Epicenter, and that's been a huge like undertaking And so with the Patreon, we actually release like acoustic music and reimagine songs that way. We have a podcast called Between the Notes. So we've been doing that to like, you know, have another outlet for creativity. We're working on a new record. Like we have a couple other things I can't really talk about, but like big things are happening that we're like, the wheels are turning on. But yeah, I mean, really the biggest thing being the new record is like, we're like really in the thick of writing it. We're like well over halfway. We've got at least a dozen songs written. So it's like, it's happening.
Right on. So we're talking to Nate from My Epic. He's giving us a little behind the scenes peek at what My Epic is doing while they're stuck at home, mostly like the rest of us. And it sounds like you have exciting things in the works. What do you want for Christmas?
Oh, good question.
Oh my gosh. I haven't even thought about it. I just thought about Christmas was a thing. I thought 2020, maybe Christmas wasn't going to be a thing. But then I heard a little song and I was like, oh, it's happening.
It's still going to be here. Coming. We're still going to do it. So any options, or you still have to think that one through?
Well, okay, hold on. I think, oh man, what would be awesome?
I mean, Santa listens to our show, so this is your shot.
Yeah, that's true. He told me that one time. He does listen. He's big into it. See, I really want. Yeah. This is so stupid, but I've been looking at iPad Pros. That's like kind of beyond what mostly I would get for like Christmas budget wise. That's probably not going to happen. But
if everybody works together and like nice. When you were younger, you could just say, "Hey, you can just give me this for the next 2 Christmases, and that's all I want." And maybe you can still get it.
Wheel and deal like that. That's why I never got anything good. Just kidding, Mom and Dad. I got all the best stuff.
Well, Nate, we're so excited for My Epic. I mean, obviously, we were disappointed that we couldn't have the touring and stuff this year, but the new album, and then next year will bring a lot of great stuff, too. And don't forget to watch the music video for Lower Still on RadioU TV. It's just a really fun look back at the 10 years for My Epic and their anniversary.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging with us, dude. We appreciate you.
Dude, thank you. This has been awesome.
Riot Podcast, RadioU.
So the conversation I just had with you guys, it might have felt like, man, Obadiah, you're being kind of harsh. But, you know, I had to have this very same conversation last night with Nikki about polar bears. You see, we found and I do this a lot of times, you know, I'll find a place like, hey, here's a place where there are polar bears, or here's a place where there's brown bears or black bears. And Nikki's like, oh, I can't. And then she's like, oh, I wish I could see a bear. It's like, you know, I'm giving you the tools, the information that you need.
I'm just not taking you up on it. I've been on a bear tour in Whistler, but I want to go on a polar bear tour. Polar bears are my favorite. So anytime you guys find, you know, cute videos, you guys always send them, and I truly appreciate it. But I want to go on a polar bear tour.
Yeah, well, this polar bear is just chilling in, let's see, Churchill, Canada. They actually say that it's the polar bear capital of the world. What gets me is how chill both the bear and the people are about the bear.
Well, the other day, I think it came up on the For You page, but then I found myself on TikTok. There's like a Churchill polar bear community with postings for TikToks because they live the life, and they're like, oh, here's polar bear prints. Like, it's just normal to see them around, not to go, you know, touch them like I probably would try to, but they just have to learn to live with them.
Don't they like find days where like their dog is gone, or like their chickens are missing, or whatever, and the polar bear's just eating them?
Well, it's so cold. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe the dogs, but I don't know about the chickens, but that's why they're not supposed to they're supposed to not come into the town. You know, like, are they eating the trash? Is that it? They trash bears.
You know, Nikki, a lot of Americans eat trash all day.
Well, I mean, that's our choice, but these bears are actually going in and eating your trash from the trash dump.
Oh, yeah, it's true. So, I don't know. There it is. Polar bears are out there, Nikki, and I just know that if you want to, you could take positive steps right now, and you could live in community with polar bears. It's out there.
Can I travel yet to Churchill? Can I get into Canada to do that? Would they let me go?
You know what? No, I don't think you can. I do feel like we could sneak you across. I mean, it's the Canadian border, for crying out loud. It shouldn't be that hard.
Hey, they held you there for a while one time, remember?
Yes, they did.
They're actually pretty good.
Actually, who am I to say? But in fairness, I went through customs. We're not taking you through customs, Nikki.
That's true. And if anybody asks, I'm not there for any work-related stuff. It's just for the love of the polar bears. But yeah, this video he sent me, it was so cute. They're just walking around just there every day. You could just see them. Just chilling. Just doing their thing.
Where do you go when you need someone to listen to your problems and give you a big hug? Not here. Obviously, this is The Riot on Radio U.
So the CDC had a briefing yesterday, Nikki. It's the first time they've done a briefing since August.
Oh, really?
And I guess they mean a public briefing, yeah. Here's what they wanted to say. Hey, everybody.
You get nothing. Nothing.
Hey, everybody. Please don't go anywhere next week. Everybody, hello, over here, CDC.
I do feel like that was newer language compared to all the other governors and the other places who are just saying, hey, no doing a lot of stuff or keeping your mask on if you're going to eat or having like 6 to 10 people from like 2 households and that it. But now the CDC is saying, really, you should not be traveling or doing anything for Thanksgiving.
What you really should be doing is sitting in your bathtub with the water on. That's the only way they can be sure you're constantly being flushed of the coronavirus.
I don't know if that was what they were really saying, but there's really, especially if you were traveling somewhere, they say don't travel.
They didn't say that, but I mean, that's what I inferred when I was listening to it for sure. But Nikki's right. They're basically saying, hey, guys, hey, trying to get your attention, and then they want to tell you not to travel. So the U.S. coronavirus outbreak has grown substantially. Wednesday alone, we had 170,000 new cases of this fake virus that's obviously a conspiracy in the United States on Wednesday.
Don't add anything to it, please. Don't add anything. Because the one side's like, he's serious, and the other side's like, he's teasing. Like, just don't.
He's finally telling the truth is what he's doing.
We do not. Guys, we're almost to the weekend, all right? Let's not start anything.
I've been lying about having COVID. I've been part of a vast government conspiracy to cover it up. Woo! How else do you think I afforded that PlayStation 5? That's how they bought me.
That's what they gave you to pretend you had it. No, he's teasing. He does have it, and that's it. So that's all we'll say on that.
See what Nikki's trying to do? Keep the truth from getting out.
You're such a dork. Don't cause anything. Guys, we just want to get to the weekend. Don't you dare start anything.
Hey, bottom line, this is the real part. This is real. The CDC says don't travel this Thanksgiving. That's the real part. Those numbers I gave you really did come from Johns Hopkins University Hospital. So that's what they're saying in regards to the number that we had just on Wednesday alone. And the CDC says just don't, okay?
People win awards for being the best at things. Are there awards for the worst? Because we have a contender. Worst of the Riot podcast.
Hey, Nikki, could you be like my personal financial advisor right now?
Yeah, what do you need? You want me to tell you to not buy something? Can I help you with that?
No. It's kind of... You know what? Like, it's really the opposite of that. Here's where I'm at. Okay, I've got a couple of games for the PlayStation 5. One of them, which I featured in an Obadiah Plays, which you can actually see on our YouTube channel or at riot.radiou.com, is Godfall. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's okay, but I'm kind of done with it. And so I was thinking...
What were you thinking about?
See, I was thinking, what if I just went ahead and traded / sold it?
Oh, so you have a physical copy of it?
I do. It is currently retailing for $70.
And you hardly used it. I mean, it's still brand new.
It's hardly used. So what do you think would be a fair price for this game that's currently retailing?
For $70?
For $70.
I would say $55 then at that point.
55?
Well, what did you think? I mean, again, it's brand new. You haven't used it.
hey, no. Don't misunderstand. I'm excited about your choices.
I mean, that way it is a little bit less realizing that the person would probably have to drive to meet you and you're not buying a new copy. But I mean, I think you should totally get $50 or $55 out of it.
Oh, I love this conversation right now.
You may sell it. I can put the description for you. I mean, I'm really passionate about you getting this amount.
I'm just thrilled with the conversation that we're having right now. Like, I think this is great. I don't know. I was wondering, like, could it, because, like you said, it's new. So should it be like, if I go into GameStop right now, they'll be like, we'll give you $5.
Yeah. But if you waited outside the door, if anybody else is going in, be like, psst, you want to play this game?
Hey, kid, you want to play Godfall on your PlayStation 5?
But it has to be enough of a price difference because, again, they're going to probably pay, like, they're going to meet you. So that's a little bit of travel time. And then it has to be a little bit less. Otherwise, they would just buy the new version. So I would try with that. I would try 55 and then take 50.
Okay. All right. So I think I'm just going to go ahead. Okay. How do you feel about Facebook Marketplace? We feel good about that, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's trash some days, but that's fine. It's good trash, I guess. You might. It's just when you really want to sell something. Does anybody else have that where you really want to sell it? And that's when everybody's like, hey, is this for sale? And then you never hear back from them, or they want to trade you for whatever. And you're like, I didn't want to trade. I just want to have this be a simple transaction. They try to bully you into a lower price. It can be a pain.
Hey, everything Nikki has just said is totally real. Like, we've all been there.
But you might as well try. Try there first.
The Riot. Not everyone's a fan.
I wonder whose idea this was.
Radio U.
So, Nikki, let's talk about what you would traditionally have for Thanksgiving. Now, I know Thanksgiving is not as big of a deal to your family, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But what do you consider to be a traditional Thanksgiving meal?
I would like each Thanksgiving, I would always make like the mix. I would take turkey, mashed potatoes, and corn and stuffing and just mix it all together. So those items, like the traditional.
So you have like a bowl?
Yeah, like the traditional items. And then sometimes you could just make a little thing and then put it in between two rolls. That was good, too. There's something special about that. So I don't need any, like, let's try to make this new type of stuffing. I was always into just whatever was the regular one.
Let's get some standards going here.
Yeah.
So it it looks like it was very common in early America, and quite frankly, they're saying all the way up through probably the 1920s, that for Thanksgiving, it wouldn't be uncommon for you to have some raccoon.
Oh, that was a thing then? Well, I guess that was more normal. Aw. I know they're mean, but raccoons still kind of look cute to me, so I don't think I can eat them.
So, well, Nikki,
they're
maybe
very grumpy.
Maybe they had it coming. They say that
no one has it coming, Obi. No, just teasing.
The raccoons.
They were terrible creatures.
So they apparently that started that when Europeans came to America, the Native Americans, like, raccoon was not a staple of their diet, but they'd eat a raccoon. And so they say that that's something that has been a part of American culture for a long time, even though a lot of people haven't talked about it. And before we really industrialized the food process, raccoons were not super commonly eaten, but it was not out of the question. And according to this article that I've been reading from the Smithsonian, they say that Calvin Coolidge, the president, in 1928 was given a raccoon to eat for Thanksgiving, and they pardoned it, and it became a family pet.
Oh, well, it also says, like, into the 1920s and stuff, then there was a raccoon craze for raccoon fur coats, and that led to more people eating the meat because it was just more available, because they were killing the raccoons to wear them.
And, hey, why not? Who wouldn't like to have a nice raccoon coat? And then you're like, listen, I'm using all the parts of the raccoon, and I ate it.
Can you imagine if you met someone, like, it's weird now to meet someone who's wearing like a real fur coat, but can you imagine coming across someone who's like wearing an obvious raccoon coat? Like, is that real raccoon? It's like, yes, it is. What is that?
I'm telling you, we're a couple of nukes away from raccoon for dinner and raccoon coats in the winter.
We're not too far off. They say raccoon, but they were also mentioning in the very beginning, raccoons and squirrels were normal too. So squirrels were also a part of it.
Hey, man, I've got friends that hunt and they'll eat squirrel. Ew. I don't want any.
Well, I just think it's a lot of effort for just a small amount, isn't it? They're tiny.
I don't know. It's like I went to a friend's house and he was like, hey, man, you want some goose burgers? And I was like, wait, hang on. What?
What
and
alternative meat is that?
He's a hunter. And so he'd kill all these geese. And he's like, yeah, we eat the meat. You make a burger. It's really good. And I was just like,
you're good.
We were going to order a pizza and let's stick with that.
I will say at least you're eating it. It's not going to waste, but it's a waste that we had to do that. So, oh well. All right. So raccoon, in case someone next week on Thanksgiving's like, what should we have? If you want to troll a friend or family member, just send them the link to raccoon.
You know what? I'll bet you could find some. And who knows? Maybe it's not that bad.
Thanks for listening to the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Oh no! I missed it! Do it again!
You can hear us live every day on the RadioU network through the RadioU app or at riot.radiou.com.
I like that country, man.